Welcome to the OnlyFans Secrets Marketing Podcast. The goal of this podcast is to help both new and established OnlyFans creators learn the basics of branding, marketing, and promotion to help you make more money with your content and maximize your time online. My name is Richard Lewis, and I have over 20 years of internet marketing experience. So let's get started with today's topic. That topic is, does OnlyFans own your content? All right, so there has been a lot of talk among creators online about the new terms of service from OnlyFans. One of the big panic button items has been a subsection on OnlyFans owning the license to your content. Many people online are talking about leaving OnlyFans because of this. In this episode, we'll break down who owns your content and why OnlyFans has you agree to give them license to it. So before I go into this, just going to say I'm not a copyright lawyer, and this is not legal advice. I'm simply going over the best practices as far as terms and service and why there exists a copyright and licensing agreement on OnlyFans. Okay, so first question is, what is copyright? So copyright is your legal rights to ownership of an original quote-unquote work. Okay, so a work is basically what you create. So when you create a work, it's anything you write, draw, photograph, record, just about anything that you create. Now, copyright does not cover ideas or incomplete ideas. And copyright also does not cover inventions. That belongs to patents or trade names and logos. That would belong to trademark law. So your copyright exists the moment you bring your work into existence. So it doesn't need to go on to OnlyFans. It doesn't need to go on to any social media. The moment you take a picture, record a video, or do anything in regards to creating content, and now it's sitting on your phone or your computer, or it's written down, you have created it and you own the copyright to it. You don't need to file anything. It's yours. Now, there are legal copyrights, and that's when people file with the Copyright Office. And, there's benefits to that. Obviously, it gives you more protections, but you don't need to do that. You are automatically, your work is automatically copyrighted. All right, so what can you do with your copyright? So with your copyright that you now have, you can reproduce the work that you just made. You can sue people who use that work without your permission. And you can sell the copyright to it. So if you were to make something and someone was interested in owning it, you could sell them that right. And then they would then be able to license it. Okay, so, the concept is you can then lend it out. So licensing is like lending it out to someone. And, so this is what you are doing on OnlyFans. You are lending out your copyrighted material to OnlyFans. All right, so what is a license? So a license is a legal right granted by the licensor, giving a licensee permission to do a specific thing. So you are the licensor and you're giving the licensee the permission. That's OnlyFans. So a way to think of this is, say your state or province or country gives you a license to drive. So, you now have the ability to utilize a car and drive, and utilize the streets and drive. So you're giving and you're being granted that license from the government. So you are the licensor of your material. So OnlyFans needs to get permission from you to use it. So you as a licensor have rights. So things like how much will it cost to get the license for the copyright? The period of time that it will cover. So how long you're allowing them to use the license, whether you get payment for commercial license of the work or not. So the question is this standard social media practice what OnlyFans is doing? And the answer is yes. So when you sign up for OnlyFans and you agree to their terms of service, and now they're asking you to agree to a new terms of service, at that point you are agreeing to license your material. Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, etc. all do the same thing, and most of the time you don't even know it. So to answer the question, who owns your content? You do. Now, what's happening is that all of them grant social media sites the right to use whatever way they see fit. So all of the terms and services grant these big social media sites, and now including OnlyFans, which basically is a social media site, a right to use the content however they want. Now they could exploit it for commercial use, or even sub-license the material royalty free. Now, the chances of them doing that are slim to none. It would be very difficult for them to go about doing that. So the question we started with is that what is copyright? So you having the copyright means that you own that property. You own the content that you are creating. And each time you create new content and you post it on any site, regardless if that's OnlyFans or social media, or you promote something on Twitter, the same thing is happening. So when you're logging in and you're doing your marketing, we've talked about a lot on this podcast, if you are posting something on Twitter, you've already agreed to basically the same standards. Now, different terms of services are a little different. And the new terms of service is basically stating that even after you no longer are on OnlyFans, they continue to own the content that you've placed on OnlyFans. Now, some sites don't do that. So, as I mentioned, the term, how long that term will be. So OnlyFans is now saying after you're gone, from the site, like if you cancel or, stop utilizing OnlyFans, they will own this material. Now, why does OnlyFans need these rules? All right, so they want to be able to freely use what is on their site without asking each user permission. So it would be a lot of work if every time you wanted to utilize anything and talk about or show, how well the site is working in an advertisement or anywhere, that you would have to go back and ask each user, okay, is this going to be okay for me to use? So for them, it's basically covering their bases. And as we've gone over, at this point, most of, they feel that people will need them more than, they need you as the creator. So, the more draconian the rules become on OnlyFans, it's because they're getting bigger. And hopefully they don't get smaller, but one can estimate that they're just going to get bigger and bigger. And so they are going to be more likely to follow, the same pattern that sites like Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, etc. have, which is basically they control everything and you just do what they say. Now, each time that they create a new terms of service, you'd have to ask yourself, okay, well, do I want to, leave OnlyFans and everything I've built up? And, that's difficult, so they know that you don't have a ton of other options. There are options out there. There are other sites emerging, but one can estimate that if these sites become, as popular as OnlyFans or become popular at all, they are going to put forth the same sort of rules. So you shouldn't panic, because all of the sites will eventually do this. So if you're able to be successful on a platform, you are going to have to license them your content. Now, at the end of the day, you own your content. But if it's sitting on your phone, it's not going to be earning you any income. It's not going to be helping you out any. You have to put it out into the marketing world. You have to put it out onto OnlyFans or onto a content-related website. And those sites are going to have these kind of rules. Now, what should you do to protect your copyright on the content that you have? Well, first of all, make sure whatever you put on social media or on OnlyFans, you do not intend to sell to a third party. So that means that if you create content that you feel is very strong, long form content, or something that you've put a lot of effort into, once you place it onto OnlyFans or onto social media, they share the license with it. So you might want to hold back on some of your content that you feel strongly about and not put it directly onto social media or OnlyFans. And another way would be if you were able to have your own website. If you're able to put content on your own website, you are not handing over license to anyone else. So if you're placing it, specifically on a website that you own, you're not having to do license agreement. Even if you're sharing it on an application that seems like it might not be able to share it, chances are they also have a terms of service. And that means that they also are falling under the same rules as OnlyFans is here. So you want to have, as I mentioned in one of my first podcasts, you want to have your own website of some form and be able to place content on it. Again, then you are not sharing the license and you are keeping that content yourself. So it makes it harder for anyone else to claim license over it. So overall, to answer the final question, does OnlyFans own your content? Yes, because you have licensed the content to them. Yes, because in the terms of service that you're going to agree to, it states that they are able to use that content. Now, the other point being the chances of them doing that, very slim. You have been giving these sort of rights away for a long time without realizing you were doing so. So if you were posting a video on Twitter of content and it was 18 plus, or it was something you didn't necessarily want to check it out, once it went on to Twitter, they own that content forever. So this is just something that people have noticed. Many people say that a lot of this has already been in the OnlyFans terms of service. I agree. I just don't think that people were really looking at it. And now when they're asking everyone to reread the terms of service, people are finding out that this exists. Now they may have tightened some of the language up. Again, the bigger you get, the more high-priced lawyers you're able to afford to really tighten and protect yourself from any issues you could have legally. So they've probably tightened a lot of this language up to make it even clearer. But overall, they could utilize your content, but they won't. It's very unlikely that they will. And certainly not the kind of content